Let's learn in this video how to use workflows and GitHub Actions to build, sign, and push a Docker image into GitHub repository. When we go to GitHub Actions and then we go to create a new workflow, we search for Docker, we will find multiple templates for working with Docker containers, like for building the image, pushing the image, signing the image, and then deploying that image into a container registry or into a Kubernetes cluster. Let's see first in this video how to first build the Docker image using a tag. So I switch to this workflow pipeline that I have created in this repository, in this public repository. This will start by setting up the trigger for this pipeline. So it will be triggered each time I have a push or a pull request. Note that here I have disabled this for the purpose of this demo, and then I can run this pipeline manually using the workflow dispatch. I have one single job, that is build container, that will go to run inside an Ubuntu latest machine. I'm sure that here inside this runner I have Docker daemon already installed in this virtual machine, so I can run Docker commands and I can use the Docker command line also. For these steps, I start first by checking out the application source code, in which I have actually my application, which is .NET Core application with a Docker file, and we can see that here. So in here I have the folder app.net, in which I have my application source code, and also I have the Docker file. Let's take a look at that Docker file. So this will go to use a Windows or Linux image in order to build my .NET Core application, and then it will use another image in order to publish that application. So this is using multi-stage Docker file to create a container that will run my .NET application. My pipeline here will go to build that image based on that Docker file and based on that application source code. So here I run the command docker build dot to mention the current context, which is, by the way, here is the working directory. So I'll be inside my application source code where I also have the Docker file. And then I'll go to mention the path to my Docker file with -- file. And then I specify here a tag. I call it myapp.net. And then I specify here for the tag a date for today. So that will generate an image with this tag for me. Let's see this pipeline in action. So here, when I go to that exact pipeline, and then I can run it manually by clicking on run pipeline or run workflow, I can see a new pipeline were added here. I click on it, and here I have my build container that did download the application source code, and now it's building the Docker image for me. So first it will go to pull the Docker images for me because they don't exist on the runner. The runner is created, GitHub Actions will create a new runner for me. It's a virtual machine that is cleaned up. So it doesn't contain those images, so it needs first to download these images each time. We don't have a cache on those images. And then it will go to run the other commands from my Docker file. So it will set up the working directory, it will copy the source code files, it will run the command .NET publish and the other commands for .NET build and restore. And at the end, it will go to build my Docker container, and then it will generate that image with the specified tag. Let's see next how we can go to build and also push that Docker container into GitHub container registry, GHCR. So to do that, here I'll switch to another workflow that I have created here, which will be triggered on each time I have a new push on the specific branch or I have a new pull request. Note here, those are none, just for the purpose of the demo, and they can run it manually also. And here I'm setting up some environment variables. So my registry, a name for my registry, which is GHCR, which is the registry for used by GitHub, and then I have the image name. So I want to name my image with this name here, which is Hussam Delai. That's actually the name of my GitHub account right here with lowercase. Make sure it's lowercase. In Docker, the image name should be always lowercase. And then here I specify with the slash the name of that image. Note that here we can also we could have used the github.repository, this predefined environment variable within GitHub that will mention the name of the repository right here, but that will return actually the name of the repository with uppercase, like for my case right here. So that will not work for that case. So I'm obliged here to hard code it or to put it with lowercase like this. And then for the image tag, I specify, you can choose whatever you want. Here for my case, it's 1.0. And then I want to mention the run number for my GitHub right here. So each time I run this pipeline, it will generate a new run number that will be incremented each time. So at first it's 1, 2, 3, and so on. And then for the jobs, I will have actually one single job that will go to build and push that Docker image. So mainly on those steps and the following steps, what we want to do is that we will have different processes based on which we have, on if we have like a pull request or a commit or a merge for that pull request. So when we have a pull request, all we want to do is just to validate that we can build that Docker image. So we run only the command docker build, and that's what we have here inside this step where we have the command docker build push. So right here I'm constraining it to run only when I have when I don't have a pull request. So it will run only when it will only build the image when I have a pull request. Okay, so and for the other steps it will dismiss all the other steps. So let's see what this pipeline will do from the first. So here I'm setting some permissions for the content to read and write the packages, and then specifying an ID token for writes. This will be used by the SIG-store task, which is used to sign the Docker image. And for the steps, we will start as always by checking out the application source code, the repository, and then we'll go to install cosign, which will be used to sign the Docker image. We specify the version of cosign, which is a tool available as open source project within GitHub. And then we'll go to setup docker build X. So this is going to be the daemon, the Docker daemon that will be used to build my Docker container. I need to have this installed in my machine, in my runner. Then for I go to log into the registry, which is here the GitHub registry that I have specified as a variable before, and for that I'll go to use the Docker task right here that will perform login. So to log into that registry, I'll specify the username, which is the name of my account right here, and then a password, which is going to be the GitHub token, which is a predefined variable provided for this pipeline running. So this will enable me to log in to GHCR, to GitHub Container Registry. Then next, what I'm going to do here is that I'll go to extract some Docker metadata from my container. So I'll specify the image name and its the image name right here, and then I'll be able to extract some metadata that I'll be using in the later steps right here, specifically from within building and pushing the Docker image. So when I go to build and push the Docker image, when I want to do that, I go to use this action, which is build push action, which was created by the Docker Enterprise. And then I specify some parameters. So the context is going to be the folder where I have the Docker file and where I have the application source code. And then I'll make sure to run the push command when I don't have a pull request. So when I have a pull request, we'll run only the build command, and then when I have that pull request that is validated, it means I have a commit, then in that case we'll run the build and push. Okay, this means when I have a pull request, I don't need to push the image to the registry, because when I have a pull request, the image is not supposed to be validated. I specify the tags for that generated image, so using the environment variables that I have specified before. Note that I could also use the tags specified from the uh, metadata action right here, the previous one, and then I can add labels from that action again. Then at the end, I'll go to sign my Docker image using the cosign tool. So I specify here the environment variable as it's experimental to true, and then I run the cosign tool with the command cosign sign, and then the name of my registry or the name of my generated image. Let's see now this pipeline in action. So for that, I'll go to switch here to actions, select my GitHub action right here, and then I'll go to select run the workflow. I see new workflow here added. It started running. Let's click on it to view the actions inside. So it will go to first download the application source code, install cosign tool, set up docker build x, and then it will go to login to the registry ghcr.io, and then it will go to extract the Docker metadata. So note here all the information that was extracted for the labels, for the tags. It will use the main tag right here. The main is the name of my branch, and then it will go to build and push the Docker image. So here it will first go to build that image. So you can see here in a second the commands for or the logs for building that image using all the steps from that Docker file. Great. And then next it will go to push the manifest or push the image into into GitHub container registry, into GHCR. And after that we'll go to sign the published image using the tool cosign. And yeah, that's it. So from here we can see the image, the Docker image posted into or pushed into the registry. If I click right here, I can see somewhere a link for that image. So where I can see those published Docker images, here if I go to my repo and then I go to packages, right here I can see already that I have a package called GitHub Actions course. That was the name that I've chosen for my web app. And then here we can find all the images that were pushed to GitHub container registry. So I have here my image with the version 1.0.4 and the previous images that I have pushed earlier. And from here, if I choose one of these versions, 1.0.4 for example, I will go to this page where here I have the command on how to pull this image into my local machine and so on. And the manifest related to that image. Great, I hope this was helpful. Thank you.